Sapri at the end. In the old town of Ferglen, nestled among mist-shrouded hills and cobblestone streets, there lived two brothers, Anton and Dmitry. Anton, the older of the two, was steadfast and protective, while Dmitry, with a curious glint in his eyes, often found solace in books and daydreams. The town was famous for its ancient buildings, each stone holding tales of bygone days. But it was the dark stories that haunted its alleys and whispered secrets that captivated the brothers most. From childhood, they heard tales of the catacombs beneath St. Agatha's Cathedral, said to be filled with forbidden texts and the restless spirits of those who dared venture too deep. No one who entered the underground maze ever returned. Despite these warnings, the brothers felt an unspoken pull towards the mysterious catacombs. The cathedral stood tall in the heart of Ferglen, its Gothic spires piercing the grey sky, casting jagged shadows on the cobblestones below. Moss covered the stone walls, and gargoyles seemed to sneer at passers-by. The library adjacent to the cathedral was a place the brothers often visited, poring over ancient tomes that spoke in riddles about the underworld beneath their town. Anton, with his firm resolve and a heart shaped by responsibility, felt it was his duty to protect Dmitry, whose fragile spirit was both his greatest strength and weakness. Dmitry's fascination with the unknown had led them to hear the stories of the catacombs, the dark labyrinth where reality twisted and voices spoke in forgotten tongues. Locals spoke of flickering lights seen at night near the entrance to the catacombs and an inexplicable drop in temperature that would chill the blood. They warned that it wasn't merely the stones that remembered the past, but the souls trapped within. One grey evening, as autumn leaves skittered across the streets in the wind, Anton received a letter. The parchment was yellowed, and the ink smelled faintly metallic, like blood. It read: "Seek the artifact beneath St. Agatha's if you wish to break the curse binding your blood. But beware, each step may be your last." Anton felt a shiver travel down his spine. He hid the letter, hoping Dmitry would never see it, but his brother's eyes were too sharp. He noticed Anton's pallor and asked what troubled him. When Anton reluctantly showed him the letter, Dmitry's face lit up, a mixture of fear and excitement dancing in his gaze. "We have to go, Anton. If it's true, we might be able to uncover the truth behind the darkness that's haunted Ferglen for generations." Anton shook his head. "It's too dangerous, Dmitry. The stories no one ever comes back. Which is why we go together. You and me." Unable to let Dmitry face the danger alone, Anton agreed. That night, with lanterns in hand and fear pressing against their chests like iron weights, they set out to uncover what lay beneath the cathedral. The entrance to the catacombs was hidden behind a forgotten alcove at the base of the cathedral, covered in creeping vines. As they pulled aside the foliage, a biting chill wrapped around them. The air seemed thick, almost alive, and each breath was a struggle against an unseen weight. Their lanterns cast jittery beams of light across the stone walls, revealing symbols carved deep into the rock sigils that seemed to writhe when touched by the glow. Dmitry traced one with his fingertips, only to jerk back as if burned. A whisper, so soft it could have been imagined, hissed through the corridor. "Anton, did you hear that?" Dmitry's voice trembled. Anton gripped his brother's shoulder. "Stay close. We can't afford to lose each other here." The deeper they ventured, the colder it grew. The shuffling of their footsteps echoed back at them, but there was something else, an underlying sound, as if dozens of feet were walking just out of sight. The silence in between was suffocating. Dmitry's lantern flickered, casting wild, erratic shadows that seemed to stretch and claw at the edges of the corridor. Anton clenched his jaw as he noticed the shifting shapes in the darkness. The walls now bore more elaborate carvings, faces locked in silent screams, eyes gouged out, mouths twisted in terror. It felt as if the rock itself had absorbed centuries of suffering and wanted to share its torment. "Look!" Dmitry's voice was strained, pointing to a corner where a pile of bones lay, dusty and ancient, fingers outstretched as if reaching for salvation. "God help us," Anton whispered.